open up the March 4th sewer commissioners meeting. Elaine, I.
Bill, I.
Brian Donahoe, aye.
Okay, so let's go into meeting minutes. Did everyone get a chance to read, or you want to kick it to the next meeting?
If you could, please, I
Yeah.
bet we have hard copies in front of us.
Sure, okay.
And I just make sure I didn't miss, some of them were done like by the computer. And I wasn't clear on what they were updated, because there were a lot, there was just speaker. I don't know if we have to,
Okay, there was one that I didn't correct.
Speaker one, speaker two.
yeah, and I just wasn't sure how that,
Oh,
I'll
what did
fix that and I'll send it in.
all right.
did you
No.
use? I'm sorry,
AI.
you used,
Yes, I use the transcripts from the actual local scene.
oh,
Is that what this is all about?
oh,
We were talking about that, I remember I told
yeah,
you,
it's a
it
good idea,
really works great.
it's a good idea.
That
A
was
lot
when
more
I
information. to read.
kind of gonna edit it, and that was when I didn't know if you would edit it, I missed the fact that it was,
And then the transcript.
Yeah.
If you hit the transcript, it gives you all of the wording, and then on the bottom, you can listen to it. Give you the
Wow.
audio.
Very good. Nice, it's time saver.
so we'll go get to the next meeting then, just to clarify.
Yeah.
that, Yeah, all right.
Okay. So we'll do that. Commitments, 35 River Street, first pipe, 47,000 gallons. Yeah, that had to have been surprise.
And it was -7 degrees or whatever. It was really cold. I thought of that. I said, what a poor guy, whoever that was, person. Just,
Do we have an adjustment amount for them?
What the water department is doing is just charging them the service charges only. And they're given the 47,000 gallons because of the extenuating circumstances.
And what are the extenuating circumstances?
The gentleman has been in a care facility since the summer. His property experienced a freeze in the pipe burst on December 24th. The foreman was called up to shut off the water with forklift.
Okay, because I just don't see a write-up, that's why I'm asking. Is it, we have
Just email.
35 River.
this email.
That's 35 River. That's a little write-up that Stacy did.
Oh, my apologies, okay,
You know, Dicky Blue, right?
yeah.
Well, they never came into our system
Right,
Right,
from the ground, so.
right. Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to make the adjustment for the water charge to our sewer charge.
To follow suit with the water
Water,
department, Yeah.
posted.
okay,
I'll second it, I'm sorry.
okay, so the motion's to bring the usage amount down to 0.
And I'll just clarify the motions to the 47,000 gallons that never, like Bill just said, never got to our system. So we never treated it. So there was no real cost on our end.
Okay, so we've got a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Okay. Final sewer commitment, $715.35. Just a final reading.
Yep.
We just need a motion on that.
I'll make that motion to we approve this final amount of $715.35 for the address.
42 summer.
42 summer. It's on here, yeah. 42.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. How about update from superintendent?
Seems like it's been a marathon lately, but it always is. A couple of things I'd like to bring up, and it's not a specific property, but it's more in general terms. The accessory dwelling units.
Yes.
I've been asked by a couple different people about how we're gonna address how we want them to tie into the existing system. And I guess if you guys have any thoughts on that, my thoughts were, depending on the property, if it's possible to tie into the existing sewer lateral before it leaves their property, instead of tying out into a new location in the street.
I agree with that. Then if they could come in, they could intersect it with a Y, you know, as it goes from the front of the building, come around, or whatever they need to do. In some cases, they may be able to come in from the outbuilding, if it's an outbuilding, and come in through the existing building and still have the gravity feed. And then there's no, they don't have to dig up the whole yard to get to
Then
that.
come out
stuff,
the existing service.
You know, you know, I can't really see a drawback unless it backed up into the, wouldn't back up into the house, it's gonna back up into both houses.
So I'm not super clear on how these accessory dwelling units are supposed to.
These are
Work
these are
in
the
the-
detached ones, but if it's part of the main house, it's just gonna expand the house.
So if it's a detached unit and you've got family in the original house, is it supposed to be just family in these dwelling units?
Well, that was gonna be my
That
question.
might be something later on that,
It isn't, but
Not-
they can't separate. It's one water line coming in, one water meter. And so there's one stub coming out, whether it's from the outbuilding or the main house. That's all owned by the one ownership property. That they're not gonna be breaking up into condos.
Well, and that was my question. I think that that approach is good unless the accessory unit can be sold.
If that's the case, then they have to tie in and they have to pay a betterment right up front.
Right.
Same thing with the water department. You add another water stub to your property, water meter, you pay the $4,800 to tie in.
I mean, as
but that would have to be on a separate lot.
Right.
So.
they'd have to subdivide the lot and all that. So the intent of the accessory dwelling is to supposedly for family, you know, a mother-in-law, whatever, you downsize, but there's still the opportunity to rent it, which is perfectly fine as long as you, like you said, it's under the one ownership.
You're low, you know,
Yeah.
always have to be in the water.
So if there were a problem in the main house with the sewage and then it backed everything up to the
So
accessory
it's all
dwelling.
one continuous building as far as in my mind's eye.
Yeah,
You know, if something happened at the front,
But-
they'd have to repair it anyways.
So then we're looking at it, then my understanding, you're fine whether it comes into the existing house and out, or if they bring it around.
bring it
the
around.
house, you know.
And I'm wondering if they're doing an accessory and it's a separate building, they're gonna have to have an engineer involved.
I would think so.
Oh, yeah,
You
and have to
know,
probably go through the building department and all that. sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
And they'll have to show you an engineered drawing coming from this building to this building and where they can intersect. And then go that way, or they're gonna come out and go around alongside the building and tie into a Y in the front yard.
I think there's a million variations, but you can't sell it, I am seeing already in other towns
Okay,
that they're being sold at, I'll give you an example.
okay,
I happen to just be in the, take a house, 3-bedroom house, put the accessory dwelling unit back here, take off so many feet of this house, so it becomes the accessory development unit, and this becomes the permanent house. That's one game I'm in the middle of right now.
okay,
The other phase of that same lot is when they get this second lot, the really intent is the second lot gets done to, becomes a real 3-bedroom house. Then they'll subdivide it. And they'll keep this and not cut it off. So this is in another town,
That's gotta be zoned.
well, they are, I mean, they overlap, that's the problem, not the problem, but this is the condition. I don't have a problem with any of this. I think
Yeah.
the more houses, the better.
Right.
So that's but I'm just saying that those kind of things. So now if you take that thinking, go back to the engineer, I think any accessory development should be designed as much as possible as a separate standalone to the extent, not have it come through a house,
Mhm.
have a separate outside kind of like that would be the priority or our guidance, preferred method.
Mhm.
But let's, to say, so we don't have this, we're not going back and fighting for separating them when they come back with this other thing. Just say, listen, we would like to have it, first of all, if this house is gravity, this house be gravity, make sure that the foundation's high enough, even if it's in the backyard, bring the house up, fire up, and make sure the flow line is such you can have a gravity line. We don't have E1 pumps involved, and if you want it, but now if you get an E1 pump, you gotta buy it for that new accessory unit. There's a whole bunch of scenarios.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Do
You're
we
gonna have to do
need,
Case by case, you're gonna have to look at every one.
Right, I
If
just
you wanna
want
bring
to
them
have
in
For
here,
guidance,
look
I
at
mean,
them.
some input and thought. So when I do get these questions.
Yeah.
How does the board feel about, these situations? So there's one, that's the accessory dwelling unit would be way in the back and down at a lower elevation, so they would need, say, an E1 pump. And that, I assume, would all be on them.
Yeah.
Plumb everything.
Yeah.
And then, again, have to tie it up into main property.
Which then would gravity feed, so they would actually come into the main building. They would pump up the main building, get into their system, and then the gravity feed out from there. Because otherwise, if they come around the front, they put a Y in, I don't know, is that doable? Because that pump's gonna be under high pressure or higher pressure. And then the gravity, interfere with the gravity feed coming out of the house.
we had something similar to this probably 10 years ago. Was a house on Main Street. It was a front house. They had enough in the back. They called it a condo. And they wanted to tie in the back 3-bedroom condo into the front line. And we said no, because that back unit could be sold independent of the first one. So they had to come all the way from the
Yeah.
back up.
And in that
To
case, the
Main
water
Street.
department needed to do the exact same thing,
And
except it's separate.
so that's why I'm asking if it's something that can be,
yeah, in the case you're talking about, the case, I think we're discussing, if you have a house that's gone to gravity now,
yeah,
I agree with you. You don't want to start putting a force main into a house that may eventually back up. So in that case, I would say put a new stub, a new chimney stub, whatever, into the sewer, so you don't have any of those problems. Again, you can see the criteria. I think that it's gravity definitely preferable. Gravity in separate units. If you have an E1 pump, that goes separate into the pipe. And but keeping them separate, anticipating they're gonna subdivide, anticipating somewhere down the line. It's gonna happen.
If you have a lot with property, decent sized lot, you put a building behind it. You still have frontage for both of them. There's no reason why you can't conjoin that.
Yeah.
And separate the building that was common. So then in that case, if it looks like you can do it, yeah, they may have to even put a separate stub in.
Yeah, I'm thinking of anything with an E1 pump, if the main house doesn't have a pump. And the other one does, like you just described, that's a just, because then you start talking about, okay, do I want a check valve in the pump coming out of the main house so that it doesn't back up? Or do I have that, and then just get away from that, just our job is, it's separate, go right in there. They have to get a street cutting permit, they gotta do all that kind of stuff. But-
Question for you. When we were talking about the condoizing of the building behind it,
yes,
did they pay for a separate stub and a separate betterment fee?
yes,
They did, okay.
yes,
They went straight to that.
right.
But that
Otherwise,
was
they
a
come around the
three-bedroom.
house
That was a
and tie
3,
in.
yeah, that was a 3-bedroom. I mean, I could see if it's a 1-bedroom dwelling that, from a betterment perspective, it would be based on bedrooms, charging it. If the main house has 4 bedrooms already, this is a 5th, then we charge for it.
It's a 3,
The-
adding an extra.
4th, then there would be, I would think, based on our rules right now, it's a wash.
As long as it's in phase 1 and phase 2.
Yeah,
I mean, any ADU that
No,
meets just the original plan doesn't have a get a betterment, there's no
Right.
reason. But they pay for any of the sewer connections and they pay for the
Right.
E1, that's legitimate. But
because Kingston's not, I don't know if Kingston has expanded the regulations or not. Because I think it really comes down to is if that lot's gonna be able to be sold.
Because accessory dwellings in Kingston are for a while, but it's always been, you couldn't go over 22% of the overall square footage of the main house. It had to be like 1 bedroom.
Okay,
You couldn't put in 2 bedrooms because if the main house was X amount of square feet, unless that was a massive house to begin with. And usually they're all attached to the building.
yeah,
Now they're allowing them to outbuild them.
Yeah.
Include them as well.
maybe zoning or building can give us some guidance on what their regulation is to give us a better,
Yeah, I think everything's happening.
right,
relatively
Right.
quickly, and no one's really come up against it to know how to address.
Okay.
But they're not 100 square feet's the key. It can't be more than 100 square feet.
The unit?
900?
Was that what it was?
900?
900, that's as big as it can be. Once you go over that, it's a whole different ballgame.
Okay,
Unless they change,
I think
that's-
Kingston they had a larger percentage than 900.
No, but the new rule now, the new rule that just
Oh,
passed is
okay,
900.
So they've adopted
okay.
that.
Then it can't be a lot of bedrooms.
No.
Okay.
I served on the planning board under special permits for accessory.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I was one of the first people in town to put one in. First
Oh.
10 people.
Oh, okay.
My in-laws.
See, that's exactly
Yeah.
the intent.
So I'll treat it as an individual basis at this point, but with
Yeah.
all that information, I'll at least have something to explain to the person. I would
Yeah.
prefer it to be individually brought out, but look at it on a case by case, because it does add quite a bit more money
Right,
to then add on, and then they're cutting into our main, cutting into the street, so.
right.
Are they allowed off of one frontage piece? They have two to tie into the one stump? And why, or can you make them cut into it?
I think in the Nook, they've done some of the other cottages that are back behind the property that they
Right.
tied them both and it came.
Okay,
over
can
to
you
one.
can come into one? use
Yeah.
that stuff without cutting into.
Yeah,
If it's still gravity, that's,
yeah, if you're right.
Yeah, if you're close enough to, by the time you get close
Is
enough
it-
to the street.
they're all 4 inch.
You one should be independent. The laterals running out from the edge of the property line to the main are 6 inch.
6 inch, yeah. Well, that's even better. I was thinking the minimum of 4. Before you get problems sometimes with the long run, and we can back up, the stuff gets stuck in there. You know, then if it's really flat,
But if you go.
diapers,
You go with a
wipes.
4-inch pipe, you can be flatter. than
Yeah.
3.5.
yeah, all right.
Next item, Dave Wilson has now been officially offered the position of pump station operator. He's been working out a classification for quite a while now. So next Board of Selectmen meeting, they're gonna give him the blessing, and that should pass through. With that happening, our labor position has been posted. So that's internal right now, so.
Very
give
good.
That a little bit of time, and then it'll go out in the street. Our employee that got injured is still out on an injury. We had a slip and fall issue on some ice a few weeks back. And at this point, his next appointment is March 14th, so I'll know a little more in another week, 10 days, something like that, 10 days. He went for an MRI to check the injury, and we're just waiting for a follow-up. Septage, we keep taking in a whole lot of septage. Septage revenue has been through the roof. With
$49,000 this month.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's not even spring yet.
Yeah, so one of the local towns, Plymouth, they have a private wastewater treatment plant out at a development, and they're having issues, so they bring in what's typically what we consider influent. So it's not a high BOD.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you
load,
told me the last time, it must be great.
and they've been coming on a very regular basis.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry for them, but good for us.
Yeah.
But it takes that stronger stuff and makes it a lot easier to treat,
Yeah.
you know, and mixing it up together, you're not,
Certainly been a help. And just on another note, I will not be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday.
Good for you.
I'm clear ahead.
And just a question on Dave Wilson. He's being promoted from what to what?
So we hired him as a laborer back when Bob Monahan was here. And we were fully staffed. He was our laborer. Once Bob left, I moved into Bob's position. Carl moved into my position. Jordan moved into Carl's. Luke moved into Jordan's. And then there was a gap. We've been waiting for a reclassification. We've been waiting for, this was mostly the reclassification to go through the Luke's position and changing some of the job description. Once we got all that done, it had to go through the union, some other procedural stuff, and it took a little longer than expected. So when everyone moved up, Dave became the working out of classification pump station operator. And since he wasn't officially in that position, we couldn't post a laborer's position. It
Okay.
was just an out of classification. So now that he's moving out of classification position into the official position, now it'll make space, but it's been about a year ago, November. Process started.
Well, the
And do they
good,
get back pay? Is that how it works? Or they've been being paid out of,
So once he moved into his out of classification position, which was May of 2023, he started getting his
no, so it's not,
increased pay.
not getting a big retroactive.
So
check.
there's nothing retroactive. Although there was a little hiccup of an adjustment that had to be made, but that was minimal.
It doesn't, our budget issues on this thing.
good. So we have another laborer who's been promoted up through the ranks.
Yes, yeah, and it's been successful all along. Everyone's just come from a laborer's position or maybe a lower operator position.
Yeah.
And moving up, yeah.
With this particular function of the town, that's, my opinion, is the only way. You either know what you're doing coming in from laterally from some other place, or even then, there's not many SBRs out there, you know, but come up from the bottom up, you can't have a better opportunity, a better situation of training.
Yep.
But, you know, I don't care, if you come from
Like
a.
a crock pot,
Exactly right.
slowly
We-
learning about it.
Well, it's such a small organization that you want everybody to know everybody else's job in that building, in case you lose one.
You almost have to.
You know, when you get sick.
Case in point, you get someone who slips on some ice or,
Yeah,
you know, something else happens.
in that program with you and Mark Weedaboni with Silver Lake. You know,
Yeah, I gotta
laborer and,
shift to that somewhere in life.
But yeah, they're already pre-trained.
right,
And not that we're ready for it yet, but just to keep it on the horizon, we should be looking at, you know, getting ready for our town meeting and having our warrants prepared. Town warrant closes on the 25th of March.
okay, we have one more
So-
meeting before that.
The 17th, we should have all our ducks in order ready for our town warrant.
Okay. And right now, we know that'll be the budget and allocation of the certified free cash. And then if anything else between now and then needs to be put on there.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good sense of where we are at this point, judging by, if we take all our information given to us by Kathleen, and we know what our budget is, we know what our revenues were from the water side and the septic side, so just as far as the betterment numbers, we'll take that from Kathleen.
So that, just, so the question's still out there about using betterment money. So we aren't using free cash to the least amount we have to, right?
Right, right,
And that's, I think, the preference, right?
Right.
And then the other question that I had is, so I'm gonna try to take that and move forward with my committee, because that seems like it's as close as we're gonna get. I know the selectmen are meeting tonight or tomorrow on budget stuff, and I just don't know if I really wish I had the answer to this, but I don't, which is the original article we put in, having that. And I will just say that I'd like to keep that on the table,
okay,
just in case, as a opportunity, an option from the discussion we had about the, what this whole idea about additional betterments, separate betterments for the leaching field piece.
right,
I just think it's fair to keep all the options on the table.
I
okay?
agree.
And then the last one is, we were talking about briefly, that came up with, it's related to this 40N, if we're, have you had any more feedback?
No, I'll send you the last correspondence.
Okay. This is all about just authorization of our responsibilities and big clarification with the town council. Whether or not we, well, let's see
Yeah.
what this, it's out there for discussion.
So I don't want to interrupt you. Did you have any?
I was just gonna bring up, at the last meeting, I mentioned that I would not try to contact Suzanne Richard, who was
Yeah,
Jean's predecessor, whatever. And we had a very nice chat, and she's very busy with her mother. She's got very little time. So after talking about the history of the world and things going on and how great everything was when all the stuff she did back in the day with the original group, she said if she would get back to me next week and maybe have a half an hour to come in and talk to Jean and just kind of pick each other's brains, let Jean know what she's doing, just kind of have a conversation, person to person. And if Dave needs to come in, I don't need to be there, none of us need to be there, but Dave can fill in too. And Jean would, and I said, I hope once you get to the point of knowing what Jean's doing, and where they've gotten to, and I mentioned Erin and how putting the plan together, and she brought up, as soon as I said that, we have a list of everything, we checked everything off, we knew exactly what's going on. It was like, I opened up this door, like, boom, there's a table, I know it's there. He says, and it was done until we had no more capacity to give. She says, so there's a list somewhere that is accurate in 2009, did she leave?
do you know what
So
year
they-
you're working off of?
Yes,
That's the one?
She said that,
Okay.
so if you were able to show her that list, she's gonna say, this is the right list, so this is, whatever it is. And this is, and she knows there were no more betterments, there were not, we ran out of capacity,
Yeah.
it was, that's it. And then that might help you go back to like, okay, with Erin, okay, now we know we have a database that's actually right. And then, okay, where's the money that fits into these holes, it'll just help, I think. So she was
Good.
willing to do that, I thanked her for that.
Beautiful. Yeah, just when we were in a department head meeting the other day, he just provided me what we had last year for articles. And
Yeah.
one of them was closure of the unexpended articles. There were a bunch that we kind of cleaned up and got rid of.
That was,
Last,
like, like.
small, kind of combined them and cleaned up the older ones and that sort of thing. So I don't imagine we'll be wrestling with that this year. It's just a regular budget and surplus revenues.
and see if there's anything of the certified free cash that, if there's something you feel you need to use it for. So when we do the language for the article, it would be included, so we still have like $1 million in article money?
$1,000,009.
A million.
Because I used, roughly, I think that was $8,700. For
And use
equipment.
some of it for the collection system.
Yeah.
It was the evaluation to see how the interior of the pipes were as far as the corrosion assessment.
Yeah,
Spare pump from Marion Drive that had to get rebuilt. A couple of the spare pumps, in the collection system, the air relief valves, having the pump trucks come bypass the station, placing the air relief valves. So some of that came out of that article. So
okay, good.
I think there was somewhere roughly, was it 87,000 or something like that originally in that article for the collection system? Somewhere in that range.
I'd have to look at what the balance is, but
Yes,
when I
yeah,
looked at the
60.
overall, we're at like 109.
Million.
1,900,000.
Okay,
$900. $100,
Right.
or $9,000.
Not 1.9.
Yes.
you sure we can't move the decimal on?
The power of zero.
In the right spot.
Can make you or break you.
Are you good?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an update with you and Erin?
So
What's up?
Erin has been doing fabulous, getting through another book. Tomorrow, I'm gonna spend time going through the books, with the different discrepancies, because we've flagged them, and try and just get those on a spreadsheet and just have kind of a pattern of what's going on.
Okay,
The other thing, me and Dave were discussing about, backing into the betterments and the totals. So we decided that we would just take the wastewater treatment plant, those connections, and work those. And there have been some discrepancies, like of like $10,000. I have a couple more places that I'm going to look, and I'm pulling all the files just to see exactly on the spreadsheets, it says what was charged, what wasn't. But even when you come up with the interest, including it or not including it, it just doesn't come up to that.
What's
whatever
being
was
built?
Initially
Okay,
charged. The other thing that I found is that on the treatment plant expansion, most of the properties have like 4 different codes that are being used.
yeah, and the,
Like SWP, SCON 1, SCON 2, SWP 3. So it's like the initial payment of like $11,000 was the SWP. And then,
yeah, every property that was connected because of a project, phase 1, phase 2, plan expansion. We were able to charge, we were able to charge half of the estimated project up front. So that was one charge code. Because we needed to get revenue while the project was being built. And then when the project was finalized, we had the exact project number, and then they would charge the difference to make up the full betterment amount. So that's 2 charge codes. So every property in a project has 2 charge codes. If they purchased additional capacity, they'd have another charge code. So there's parcels with numerous charge codes.
and then what I'm trying to do is put together a cheat sheet. So we'll say, okay, on this project, these are the charge codes that you should see. These are where they
Okay.
feed into, so you kind of can just map it all out. Go this way in and this way back, so.
Very good. Now,
So,
how many books are there? 7? And how many? 3?
She's gone through almost 4.
Oh,
she was at 2.5 the other day when I was here, so that's good. That's speed along. You just reminded me when I was talking to Sue, she goes, I said, about people, you mentioned the people that took betterments off for research, and all
Yeah.
packages. And I said, she goes to me, don't you remember? You mean me? She goes, they started doing that when you, in like 2002, and you said, no. And I got really pissed off apparently. I don't remember this, but no, you can't do that. You either pay it, you don't. Does that sound familiar?
yes, because I do remember that the previous department head would remove the betterments if you were gonna refinance. Would remove them, then the refinancing would go through and they'd put them back on again.
We stopped it then. And I said,
Remember
apparently,
paying them off.
apparently
Right.
it snuck back in somewhere between that and now. So,
Right, because it was still going on when I came on.
Yeah.
Not maybe as frequently, but it was still going on when I got on in 2004. And that's when we took over complete control of it all, recording them, everything at the registry to make sure, because I was even asked to sign blank lien releases.
yeah, oh, that's always good.
And that's when the commission decided, that's how we got to manage it all. So you'll see that
It's a
too.
common thread here, like, no, you know. It's hard enough
And
tracking
if you can look into the
1,000 things,
registry,
1,000 things with 10 different variations of 1,000, it gets really hard to deal with.
But the good thing about the registry of deeds, you can follow it and you can see like this deed was, the lien was removed. And then you see a mortgage or another bank coming in and the dates correspond. And then all of a sudden, 8 years later, a lien release is being done. And it's like, so it's been a lot of like back and forth verifying all of the information. It's like a huge rabbit hole.
It's that second or third one that wouldn't necessarily be on our records if we thought it was cleared up. And all of a sudden, there's $8,000 somewhere and it goes where? Who knows?
Right.
If it was on the right list, it'd come right to where it was supposed to be. And that's exactly what I'm sure you're all worried about. That's, oh, come on,
Yep,
right? This is
Okay.
good.
it's
We're all getting to the right answer.
just longer than we all thought it would take. Just so, it's tedious and it's time consuming.
Remember, I said this before, I just have to say it again. I'm gonna, I could die tomorrow. So no one, my favorite saying on everything I've ever done from the time I was probably 20, no one ever said it'd be easy. I say that to myself because it's just like, get over it. This is really, keep going.
Limited.
Oh. Okay, I didn't explain executive session clear enough to Jeannie. I wanted to discuss the results of our last executive session, but we have to post it differently, so that won't be tonight. I think we have the betterment update. I think that's all I have. I don't have anything else. Bill,
Good.
Brian,
I think I'm all set.
okay,
You want to wait 2 more weeks, okay?
Yeah.
Unless you deem a meeting necessary.
Yeah.
Right.
2 weeks will be fine.
Make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.